What's going on, guys? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I'm back with a Xanathar's Guide to Everything / Unearthed Arcana comparison video. This time we're talking about the Scout Rogue. This first appeared, the Scout that is, in the Fighter and Bard classes, or kits of old, as a kind of one of those uses superiority dice, but was kind of cavalry-ish. So they basically nixed that entirely, and then in the Ranger and Rogue Unearthed Arcana release, they made the Scout. And for the most part, and possibly entirely, this subclass remains completely untouched from its Unearthed Arcana appearance. And I gotta say, this is probably my personal favorite rogue of all of the rogues that exist. I think it does a very good job of portraying what I take a Scout to be, which is very heavily influenced from the D&D 3.5 class, the Scout, which was its own class. But why don't we just dive in and take a look. So, some of the things got switched, the order of them, but for the most part, it is the same. So, Survivalist, at 3rd level, you gain proficiency in nature and survival. Your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make that uses either proficiency. And here we see you get that exactly the same. It just specifically says if you don't already have it. So let's talk about how powerful this Survivalist ability is for a second. You're a rogue. So you get expertise in 4 skills, or possibly 3, and Thieves' Tools. So let's just use, for this example, you do choose Thieves' Tools, right? So at 1st level, you get expertise in 2 skills, or 1 in Thieves' Tools. Then at 6th level, you get expertise in 2 more. And with this class, you get expertise, it's in 2 specific skills, but you now could basically be a rogue that has expertise in Thieves' Tools, I don't know, stealth, nature, survival, so that's, what is that, 4, perception, and, I don't know, acrobatics, sleight of hand, whatever. You can have 6 acrobatics, 6 expertise skills from this class, and that's not saying that if you aren't, like, a half-elf or a human, and you take the Prodigy feat, which gives you expertise in, another skill. So there's a lot of power to this. Plus, not only that, you are a rogue, so you start with 4 skills, proficiencies right out the gate, plus any you have from your race, plus 2 from your background. And this gives you 2 more. At level 11 as a rogue, you get Reliable Talent, which is any skill you have that you add your proficiency bonus to. The minimum die roll you can make with that is a 10. Anything from a 9 or below is treated at a 10. So base with this, let's say your race doesn't provide you any skill proficiencies. You get 2 from your background, 2 right here, nature and survival, so that's 4. And then 4 from being a rogue. So that's 8 skill proficiencies that you have that you would at level 11 be able to just have a minimum die roll of a 10. And at least potentially 4 of those or more could have expertise. So starting with expertise in the skill, a decent stat in that skill, and then also up 10 on the minimum roll, you're pretty good. So that I think is very powerful. It was the only time I think we ever come across something like this, where not only do you get skill proficiencies, but you get expertise in those proficiencies as part of the class. I mean, I like it. I'm surprised it made it in exactly as it is. Like I said, I'm actually shocked. I thought it would have been, you gain proficiency in nature and survival, and then if you had those already, you got expertise. But no, you get it right out the gate, so that's fantastic. Then here we had Skirmisher. You can move up to half your speed as a reaction when an enemy ends its turn within 5 feet of you. This movement does not provoke opportunity attacks. Here we have Skirmisher, same thing. You can move half your movement speed as a reaction when an enemy ends its turn within 5 feet of you. This movement does not provoke opportunity attacks. So, Skirmish was the name of the big feature that they used to have back in 3.5. The thoughts are with this is, not necessarily, but you may be more of a ranged rogue. You're a scout, right? So you're getting ahead to scope things out, potentially letting your companions know what's going on. So you may be using your short bow or your long bow, if you have proficiency, more than you would say probably a short sword or a dagger, potentially. But the thought process being, somebody moves up to try to get you, they end their turn within 5 feet of you. Now, maybe they didn't get a chance to attack you, or they did. They end their turn. Now it's your turn, or now it's before your turn, after your turn, whatever it might be. You can now move half your movement speed away as your reaction without provoking attacks of opportunity. Again, potentially moving away from other enemies as well, who may be later in the initiative, depending on where you go. So keep that in mind. So you've got that going for you. But this also means that potentially when your turn rolls around, if you are a range-based rogue, you don't have to worry about disadvantage on your attack rolls because you're no longer within 5 feet of an enemy if you're using range. A very powerful ability. I'm a big fan. 9, you get superior mobility. Your walking speed increases by 10 feet. If you have a climbing or swimming speed, this increase applies to that speed as well. That is exactly the same. So again, potentially, this is giving you anywhere between 35 to 45 feet of movement, assuming you don't take any feats or anything to do that. If you were, say, a small race, or if you go Wood Elf, which I would feel like you may... I feel like this class is very crafted perfectly for a Wood Elf. Plus 2 dex, plus 1 wisdom. You've got survival as a skill here. You're kind of... you know, so you got that going for you. This would give you 35 feet of movement. This would now give you 45. And again, as a ranger, you can dash as a bonus action, and you can move half of your movement speed without provoking attacks of opportunity as a reaction. The only downside to the reaction thing is you would, if you uncanny dodged, or if you wanted to potentially uncanny dodge in the future, that would not be a thing you could do, as you know, you'd be locked into, you'd already use your reaction. I like that they say that if you have a climb speed or a swim speed, this increases as well. The only, I'm assuming this is the case, but my only thoughts are, if you obtain a climb or a swim speed post this, does the increase apply, or do you have to have that in effect prior to hitting level 9? Because, I mean, I don't know if it... And again, it doesn't say, so what if I get, like, I don't know, gloves of climbing or something, right? That gives me a 30-foot climb speed is now at a 40-foot climb speed. So I think, from what I'm reading, it seems like you do increase those speeds. Or, like, let's say you were a tabaxi, right? You have a built-in climb speed. Then they would have that at the start, so this would apply. But my... maybe I'm reading too much into it. But I'm just, like I said, I'm just curious as if it applies retroactive. Alright, that was number 9. 13, we get Ambush Master. This one, I believe, did change, but I think it was for some clarification purposes. So in Unearthed Arcana, if any of your foes are surprised, you can use a bonus action on your turn in the first round of that combat to grant each ally who can see you a +5 bonus to initiative that lasts until the combat ends. If the initiative bonus would increase an ally's initiative above yours, the ally's initiative increase equals your initiative. Each of the allies also receives a 10-foot increase to speed that lasts until the end of the ally's next turn. So, the thought process being, you are an ambush master, you are a scout, you set this up, you are sneaking off, basically you're surprising your foes, but I guess some foes can be surprised while others cannot, depending on abilities and things, so that may be some of it. But I guess the benefit of this is you're giving this benefit to your ally, so the surprise round goes by, and the ideal situation in any surprise round is you go first in the initiative in the surprise round, so your whole team goes, then the enemies would go, but they're surprised. Then it goes to the top of the round, then your whole team goes again before the next enemy gets to go. So you basically get 2 full turns before the enemies get to act. Potentially giving a +5 bonus to your allies' initiatives could allow that to happen. So let's see how it finally ended up. Ambush Master. You have advantage on initiative rolls. In addition, the first creature you hit the first round of a combat becomes easier for you and others to strike. Attack rolls against that target have advantage until the start of your next turn. So, that is way different. This, I liked what they were trying to do with this, but it was a lot to keep track of. +5 to initiative for everybody else and giving them movement speed, it's a lot. So this is a lot easier to digest. Advantage on initiative, everybody wants that. That's never a bad thing to have. And the first creature you hit, the first round of a combat becomes easier for you and others to strike. Attack rolls against that target have advantage until the start of your next turn. The downside to this is it serves no benefit to you, per se, right? So, you can only sneak attack once per turn, for the most part, right? Once per turn. So, it's your turn, you have advantage on initiative, you go first. You hit a creature during that first round of combat. Attack rolls against that target have advantage until the end of your next turn. Or till the start of your next turn. You've already attacked this person. Now, your allies have advantage, which is great. There's no arguing that it's not great for your allies to now have advantage on this. But, as a rogue, you only have one attack, typically. So, you don't get to make use of that. You can only apply sneak attack once per turn, so even if you did have another attack, you couldn't sneak attack, and you'd want to have the advantage to, 1, grant you sneak attack, and 2, to have advantage on an attack that would benefit from sneak attack to potentially crit. So I feel like this ability doesn't synergize well with itself, like within the class itself. Again, if you're a class of rogues and you go first because of your advantage on initiative, this is huge. You just gave all your allies free sneak attack. So that's fantastic. I guess this would excel well with a Battlemaster fighter that could use Commanding Strike to have you make an attack as your reaction. Then you would then benefit from sneak attack on a different turn and you'd have advantage. So that's an option. But it just seems like it's a little weird. Because in it says, the first round of combat becomes easier for you and other allies to strike. Yeah, because it's the first creature you hit during the first round of combat. Attack rolls against that target have advantage. So your initial strike doesn't have advantage because you have to hit them first. So I guess what I'm getting hung up on is the first creature you hit during the first round of combat becomes easier for you and others to strike. Well, if you are a straight rogue at this point, you're not gonna have another chance to attack them because it ends at the start of your next turn. So at the start of your next turn, it's gone. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm getting hung up too much on it, but you get that. And then Sudden Strike, probably a very, very powerful rogue ability. If you take the attack action on your turn, you can make one additional attack as a bonus action. This attack can benefit from your sneak attack, even if you've already used it on this turn, but only if the attack is the only one you make against the target this turn. I think they tightened up the wording, so let's take a look at that. If you take the attack action on your turn, you can make an additional attack as a bonus action. This can benefit from sneak attack, even if you have already used it this turn, but you can't use your sneak attack against the same target more than once in a turn. So, again, you could potentially use your Sudden Strike ability using your level 13 Ambush Master ability. So you attack the first turn, you hit this guy. You know what? Let me rephrase. This works in that scenario. In my brain, your first attack on the first turn was getting sneak attack. Now, that's not the case. Now, I should have just kept going, right? This is what happens when I do these stream of consciousness. So basically, if at level 17, you take the attack action, you can attack as a bonus action. That's it. That's 2 attacks on a turn as a rogue. That's huge. This second attack can benefit from your sneak attack, but you can't sneak attack the same target. So if that attack against the target on the first turn was not sneak attack, because you just shot at them, but you hit them, you now have advantage on them, and if you do your second attack as a bonus action, now that attack has sneak attack. That only works for the first round of combat in that scenario, So more often than not, to get the most bang for your buck, you're going to want to shoot two enemies potentially that have that qualify for sneak attack, because that lets you do sneak attack twice on a turn. But on the first round of combat, you could use Ambush Master in conjunction with Sudden Strike to grant yourself advantage, to grant yourself sneak attack with a bonus action. Again, this is a level 17 rogue, so it's pretty high up there. How many games actually get that far? But yeah, I love this class. You've seen my videos recently, I haven't really been too thrilled with a lot of the subclasses that have come out, but this one I absolutely love. I would love to play in a game where I could play as them. As I've stated countless times on this channel and all of these videos, I've never gotten a chance to play a rogue. I have wanted to play a rogue since my 3-5 days, but every time I would be like, oh, I'm wondering what I want to play, I don't know, there's so many options. I think I kind of want to play a rogue, and every time I would go to do that, somebody else in the party would already claim a rogue or a rogue-like class, like, say, the Ninja, which was a 3-5 class. And then in every 5e game, someone else has claimed the rogue, and I wanted to be the nice guy and offer them the ability to play that class, as I get to play D&D pretty often, or at least I get to be involved in D&D pretty often. I don't get to play that often, but I wanted to try and play a rogue, but they're like, oh, I'm going to be a rogue, so I was like, you know what, you play it, but I've never had the opportunity to do so. I guess I did have the opportunity once, but I chose to play a Paladin, which was my first 5e character, and I do not regret that decision. As I've stated many times, Paladins are my favorite 5e class, but I would love to give the Scout Rogue a try. So, I guess that's my open casting call to DMs out there. If you really need another player that you can work around my schedule, I'd love to play Scout Rogue in your game. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be back again with the Swashbuckler Rogue. This is, again, a Sword Coast Adventures Guide reprint. Not much changes, if at all, so that video will go relatively quick. And then after Swashbuckler, hey, we're already done. We're done with the R's. We're rolling into the S's. Sorcerer is next. So, anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.